All right, friends, we're about 100 pages into the Glass Castle. In today's Ed Puzzle, we're going to be doing a close read of pages 110 to 116. I want us to look a little deeper into the impact that the family is taking as a result of the poor parenting practices of Rex and Rosemary. So ladies and gentlemen, get your book out, turn to page 110, and let's get started. Alrighty, folks, so up until this point, yes, the Walls family is very unique. They do a lot of things different than we would expect from a typical family. However, the family seems to be fairly happy. Although they may not have material things and they may not be able to spend as much money and go as many places, the parents do a great job of instilling in them the values that they need so that they don't feel like they have less than others. They're rich in other ways. However, ladies and gentlemen, what we're getting ready to discover in the next set of pages that we read together is that the fallout from poor parenting really starts to take a toll on the family. Let's go ahead and jump to page 110, and we're going to find out exactly how it's taking a toll. It was around that time that Dad lost his job. He said there was nothing to worry about because Phoenix was so big and growing so fast that he could find another job at a site where they hadn't spread lies about him. Then he got fired from his second job and his third and was kicked out of the electricians union and started doing odd jobs and day work. Whatever money Mom had inherited from Grandma Smith had disappeared. And once again, we started scraping by. So remember, they're in Phoenix because Rosemary's mom died, Grandma Smith, and she inherited the house as a result. So they moved to this house thinking things were going to be better. Remember, Rosemary said it's going to be another adventure in Phoenix. There were going to be so many more opportunities. And yet they've been there for a while and things are starting to turn bad again. So what I want you to consider, ladies and gentlemen, how might the parents be impacting the kids? I want you to think about that. And let's jump back into the page. I didn't go hungry. Hot lunch at school cost $0.25, and we could usually afford that. When we couldn't, and I told Mrs. Ellis, my 4th grade teacher, that I had forgotten my quarter, she said her records indicated that someone had already paid for me. Even though it seemed awfully coincidental, I didn't want to push my luck by asking too many questions about who that someone was. I ate the hot lunch. Sometimes that lunch was all I had to eat in a day, but I could get by just fine on one meal. One afternoon, Brian and I had come home to an empty fridge. We went out to the alley behind the house looking for bottles to redeem. Down the alley was the delivery bay of a warehouse. A big green dumpster stood in the parking lot. When no one was looking, Brian and I pushed open the lid, climbed up, and dived inside to search for bottles. I was afraid that it might be full of yucky garbage. Instead, we found an astonishing treasure. Cardboard boxes filled with loose chocolates. Some of them were whitish and dried out, and some were covered with a mysterious green mold, but most of them were fine. We pigged out on chocolates, and from then on, whenever Mom was too busy to make dinner or we were out of food, we'd go back to the dumpster to see if any new chocolate was waiting for us. From time to time, it was. So ladies and gentlemen, I want you to click yes on this next question if you feel like dumpster diving is appropriate for school-age children. I'm hoping that everyone selected no. But this is one clear example of the fallout of Rex not working and Rosemary being kind of a hands-on, hands-off type of parent. Typically, when they don't have food, the kids are taught to fend for themselves. Remember how we met Jeanette at the beginning of the book? She was cooking hot dogs for herself at age 4. So this is what they're used to doing, and they make do just by doing what they're used to, searching for the food. So ladies and gentlemen, I want you to think about that. What impact might that have on a person later on down the line? And go ahead and answer the next question. I'll read a little more for you. We're back on the bottom of 110. For some reason, there were no kids Marine's age on North 3rd Street. She was too young to run around with me and Brian, so she spent most of her time riding up and down on the red tricycle Dad had bought for her and playing with her imaginary friends. They all had names, and she would talk to them for hours. They'd laugh together, carry on detailed conversations, even argue. One day, she came home in tears, and when I asked her why she was crying, she said she'd gotten into a fight with Susie Q. one of her imaginary friends. So we're going to pause there, ladies and gentlemen. And I want you to go ahead and read the rest of 111. I want you to read the 112 and 113. And what I want you to do while you're reading is consider the impact that the parents are having on the children. Think about all of the children individually. We just read about Maureen and her imaginary friends that she's getting into arguments with. Kids are going dumpster diving. So ladies and gentlemen, what I want you to do, go ahead and take a beat, read these next few pages, and answer my next question. Give me 3 clear ways that the family is being impacted by the parents' poor decision making, or just by the parents in general. And if you want to go a step further, give me 4, okay? Get to reading. All right, friends, now that you've read those last couple of pages, hopefully you found 3, maybe 4 good examples of the way that the parents are impacting the children. Do yourselves the favor and make sure that you got the page numbers in your answers as well, because you never know, you might need these examples later on. Let's jump back into the page. I'll read a little bit of 114, and then you'll go ahead and be responsible for reading the rest and answering the last question. On Christmas morning, Mom took us down to a gas station that sold Christmas trees. She selected a tall, dark, but slightly dried out Douglas fir. This poor old tree isn't going to sell by the end of the day, and it needs someone to love it. She told the man and offered him $3. The man looked at the $3 and looked at Mom and looked at us kids. My dress had buttons missing. Holes were appearing along the seams of Maureen's t-shirt. Lady, this one's been marked down to $1, he said. We carried the tree home and decorated it with Grandma's antique ornaments, ornate colored balls, fragile glass partridges, and lights with long tubes of bubbling water. I couldn't wait to open my presents, but Mom insisted that we celebrate Christmas in the Catholic fashion, getting to the gifts only after we'd attended midnight mass. Dad, knowing all the bars and liquor stores will be closed on Christmas, had stocked up in advance. Typical Rex. He popped open the first Budweiser before breakfast, and by the time midnight mass rolled around, he was having trouble standing up. I suggested that maybe this once, Mom should let Dad off the hook about going to mass, but she said stopping by God's house for a quick hello was especially important in times like this. So Dad staggered and lurched into the church with us. During the sermon, the priest discussed the miracle of the Immaculate Conception and the virgin birth. Virgin my ass, Dad shouted. Mary was a sweet Jewish broad who got herself knocked up. The service came to a dead halt. Everyone was staring. The choir had swiveled around in unison and were gaping open-mouthed. Even the priest was speechless. Dad had a satisfied grin on his face. And Jesus H. Christ is the world's best-loved bastard. The ushers grimly escorted us to the street. On the way home, Dad put his arm around my shoulder for support. Baby girl, if your boyfriend ever gets into your panties and you find yourself in a family way, swear that it was the Immaculate Conception and start mouthing off about miracles, he said. Then just pass around the collection plate come Sunday. I didn't like Dad when he talked like that, and I tried to move away from him, but he just held me tighter. Back at home, we tried to calm Dad down. Mom gave him one of his presents, a brass cigarette lighter from the 1920s in the shape of a Scottish Terrier. Dad flicked it a couple of times, swaying back and forth, and then he held it up to the light and studied it. Ladies and gentlemen, go ahead and finish reading the page 115 for me, answer the last question, and you are one step closer to finishing up your next air document. Good luck and happy reading.